I know what you're thinking. Why is the internet famous hellhound that I spend more and more time as these days sitting under this tree? Is this part of some sort of photo shoot? Or another secret project? Not this time. I'm sitting under this tree because I like this tree. I like it so much, in fact, that I laid right here in the shade for 40 minutes today. It was part of an event that I had with my VRC community, Converse. We were playing a game here in this world, and I won't bother explaining the rules to you, as that would take quite a bit of time, but essentially the game was hide and seek. Out of all the games I played as a child, I think hide and seek was my favorite. Truth be told, I'd love to play it a lot more than I do right now, but grown-ups don't usually play hide and seek. At least not for fun. Of course, my childhood friends didn't exactly like playing with me either. Hide and seek, that is. You remember when you played as a kid, there would always be that one kid who hid so well that nobody could find him? Well, that kid was me. I always took it as a personal challenge every time I played to just try to find the best hiding spot, one that would take my friends the longest to discover. Unfortunately, their appreciation for my stealthy skills, as it were, was not quite what I hoped it would be. If anything, they got angry. A lot. After the game was over, either because they finally found me at long last or they simply gave up, there would always be this heated conversation. They would accuse me of being a bad sport, because in their point of view, the whole purpose of the game was to hide and get found. Well, I disagreed with that sentiment. After all, the game's called hide and seek, not hide and give up, right? And it would always be this whole thing, and we'd go on and on and on about who really cared about who and how they weren't going to play with me anymore if I kept being a tryhard or whatever. Just hide and seek and yell. Either way, I think it's safe to say they didn't discourage me from that behavior, because so many years later, and here I am, at it again. Like I said, I really wish I could play this game more often than I do, but when you think about it, we're all kind of playing hide and seek all the time, aren't we? When you interact with somebody online, whether it's on social media or in a virtual space like this, you're not really seeing them. Even now, you're not really seeing me. You are seeing exactly and only what I choose to show you. That's how we hide every day from the world and from each other. And there's benefits to doing that, especially in times like these. But as much as I hate to admit it, my friends back in the day, they were right. Because sure, there's benefits to hiding, and there's even benefits to hiding really, really good. But hiding forever can ultimately prove to be your undoing. The reason I'm making this video is because I want to tell you all a story. Now, this is a story that some of you have already heard, but most of you haven't. And now I think it's time that you all knew. 20 years ago, I was friends with somebody named Draylon. They lived in Scotland. They were an IT professional. They were a furry, as you might expect. And they were my friend. In fact, they were one of the very first friends I ever made over the internet. Now, Dre and I were not exactly the closest of friends, but we got along very, very well. I always enjoyed his sense of humor, and in many ways he introduced me to the finer aspects of 2000s internet culture, some of which still persist today. And I'll never forget the advice he once gave me. 20 years ago, I was going through a rather, shall we say, upsetting period, as teenagers are often to do. I remember at one point I said that with so many people in the world feeling unhappy and in bad situations, it just didn't seem fair to be cheerful. A sentiment that I imagine a lot of you are probably feeling now. And I'll never forget what Dre told me. He told me that wasn't the way to look at things. He told me that there was nothing wrong with finding good moments in bad times, silver linings in dark clouds. There was nothing wrong with lighting a candle as opposed to just cursing the darkness. He said to me that even when times were tough, even when friends and family were having a difficult time, even when it felt like the world was going out of its way to teach a lot of people some very harsh lessons, that there was nothing wrong with me taking pride and joy in what I had accomplished and what I could feel proud for. Or proud of, rather. He told me that I had every right to be cheerful, even if everyone else in the world wasn't feeling as cheerful. It's honestly some of the best advice I've ever gotten, and it's how I've tried to live my life. I always keep in mind, of course, when my friends are having misfortune and when they're struggling, but I also know that it's good to take stock in what I've done and what I have to be proud of and what I have going for me. And who knows? Maybe if more people adopted that attitude, perhaps it wouldn't fix their bad situations, but it would give them the motivation to keep going forward and to make things better. So, Dre and I drifted apart over the years, as most of the friends you make in your youth tend to do. No one ever asks for it. It's just you grow old, you grow apart. It's part of life, you know? Then about 10 years ago or so, we reconnected. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and we started talking again, and it was just like back to what it was before. Only now we were a little bit older. It really is amazing how you can go for years without speaking to somebody, and then one day you just contact them, and it's like not even a moment has passed. That's a sign of a good friendship. One day, Dre made a post that I found concerning. In the post, he talked about how he was feeling empty. I wouldn't call it depressed, because he didn't even call it depressed. You know, he pointed out, just like he told me all those years ago, that there were things going on in his life that he was proud of and that he was satisfied with, but he still felt like he had nothing left in the tank, that he had just burned out. So naturally I was concerned, and I thought about maybe just sending him a message asking if he was okay. But it had been so long, and I didn't know if it would be appropriate, and I didn't even know what I would say. So I didn't. I mean, there were other things that were happening in my life that I felt was a bit more pressing, and I didn't really know how to respond to the situation, so I just let it go. I didn't send him a message. I just said to myself, well, yeah, he's feeling bad, but hey, he'll be back to his normal self in a couple of days, and this will all be forgotten about, you know? That was the last post that Draylin made to the web. A week later, he took his own life. His family, understandably, wanted to keep it quiet, so I didn't find out till a month afterwards. You know, the reason I try so hard to avoid feeling very emotional is because I have a vivid emotional memory. And I can still remember how I felt in the aftermath of all that. I felt angry. And the reason I felt angry was because I felt hurt. I felt hurt that I couldn't help my friend. Because I didn't know what to do or what he needed. Because he never told me. And I know he was under no obligation to tell me anything, but I still felt hurt that he hadn't trusted me enough to tell me, or really tell anybody, just what it was that was bothering him. And even if he didn't know, he didn't seem to trust anyone enough to just ask for help. Because I don't recall him ever asking at any point in that message. I mean, sure, he talked about how he was feeling burnt out and how he just felt like he was running on fumes, but he never reached out to anybody and asked to help him out of that, whatever was going on. He just said he just felt like he was done, and I know that this was during a time where, for better or worse, men were expected to kind of soldier on and handle this themselves and not reach out, and, you know, I don't know if that's what he was thinking, but the fact remains is I was hurt that he never trusted me or any of us enough to tell us just what was happening. He wanted to keep it away from us, and yeah, maybe it was to spare us the anxiety of having to worry about him, but even today, and I will carry this feeling with me for the rest of my life, part of me still feels that if I had said something, he might still be here today. And I didn't know what to do. Because I never got the chance. Because he never asked. So what's the moral of the story? The moral is that Draylene, in the end, he hid too good. And getting found could have kept him in the game. You know why grown-ups don't play hide and seek? Because the grown-up version is complicated as fuck. You want to hide. You need to be sought. And sometimes you're confused when you get found.